Welcome to the deep dive. We take fascinating ideas from, well, across different fields and kind of distill them down to what you really need to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, we're looking at some powerful ancient wisdom, but through a really modern lens.
That's right. Our source is an afterword, looking at Zhuangzi's teachings.
And there's surprising relevance, actually, to our lives today, especially, with AI and everything.
Absolutely. And at the heart of it is this key phrase from Zhuangzi. Oh, Zhuangzi.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Okay, that sounds complex.
It does, but think of it like this. It's about skillfully using the things in our lives,
Yeah.
tools, tech, everything, but without letting those things, control us.
Control our thoughts or dictate our values, define who we are.
Exactly that. Not being used by things. That's the core idea we're going to explore today.
Okay. And for you, our listener, if you want to grasp complex ideas, but efficiently, this is your direct route
A shortcut, yeah.
to understanding this, well, profound principle and how it impacts your life right now. We're looking at philosophy, ancient wisdom, but connected to our modern world.
Right. And the mission, I guess, is to see how this old perspective helps us navigate today, especially, like you said, technology.
So let's dive right in. What does it really mean to use things yet not be used by things?
Well, Zhuangzi is pointing to a kind of delicate balance here.
Okay.
Using things. That's about our active engagement with the world,
Yeah.
our ability to interact, to create, experience things.
So having agency, being able to influence stuff around us.
Exactly. It's our capacity to observe and, shape the world around us.
Okay, so it's definitely not about just withdrawing from life. It's active involvement.
Right.
Now, what about the flip side, not being used by things? That sounds like the harder part.
It is, and that's where the real insight lies, I think. It's about maintaining a constant awareness,
Yeah.
Amidst all that interaction.
Awareness of what, exactly?
Awareness that stops us becoming dependent or obsessed or defined by the external world, whether that's stuff, physical objects, or the endless stream of information, or even, say, our own fleeting emotions. And Zhuangzi points out that these things, they aren't really solid, unchanging entities anyway.
Oh, how
They're
so?
more like temporary gatherings of energy, constantly in flux, not fixed.
Okay, that makes sense. It reminds me of that surfing analogy in the text.
Yeah.
You're actively engaging with the wave's power using it, but you have to stay balanced, aware.
Or you get wiped out. Precisely.
Absolutely.
So it's not passive disengagement, it's active participation,
Yeah.
but guided by, let's say, wisdom, a deep sense of awareness.
So we're in the world, we're interacting.
But we're consciously choosing how it affects us, not just letting it automatically dictate our inner state or our self-worth.
Okay, so this isn't just some abstract philosophical point. Why is it so relevant now? The afterword really stresses its urgency today.
It's especially critical now because, well, our modern world just throws unprecedented temptations and complexities at us, doesn't it?
It really does.
The text even mentions modern neuroscience, suggesting our brains naturally tend to reach out to attach to things.
Which leads to?
Well, often anxiety, comparison, that constant urge to see how we measure up.
And technology pours fuel on that fire.
Absolutely. Think about social media platforms. The algorithms are literally designed to keep us hooked, to keep us seeking external validation, likes, followers.
A perfect example of being used by the tools we think we're using.
Exactly. It feels like we're constantly bombarded, doesn't it? Messages about what we should want, what we should look like, be doing.
Totally.
Think about consumerism, just the sheer pressure.
Yeah.
Or how algorithms curate our feeds, maybe even shaping our moods. Or, VR becoming more immersive.
These are all really powerful forces.
Very powerful. And they can easily lead to being used by things, weighed down by possessions, maybe overwhelmed by information, losing ourselves in digital identities.
Okay, so how do we fight back? The afterword talks about cognitive decoupling. What's that about? How does it help?
Right. Cognitive decoupling. It's basically the practical way to practice not being used by things. It's about creating a kind of mental space.
A space between us and those external pressures.
Exactly. It lets you consciously choose whether to let things like, say, wealth or status or how you look define your value.
So freedom lies in making that choice.
That's a fundamental level of freedom, yes. But the text suggests there's an even greater freedom.
Which is?
Becoming, as it puts it, standard setters for our own lives. Actively deciding what gives your life meaning instead of just passively accepting what everyone else says.
Becoming the standard setter. That's a powerful idea. It almost makes me think of, the observer effect in quantum physics, where observing changes things. Is there a link?
The afterword does draw a kind of parallel. It suggests our consciousness, our intentional choices, can actually shape the reality we experience. To some extent, anyway. Well, when we stop just automatically reacting to everything outside us, and instead consciously choose our responses, our values, we're actively shaping our experience, not just being passively molded by it.
Okay, I see. So this whole idea using things, not being used by them, is not just personal. The text expands it right to the environment, AI, especially with the climate crisis looming.
Yes, absolutely. When we look at our ecosystem, using things could mean, for example, leveraging AI to predict ecological changes, or developing clean energy tech, using our tools actively.
Makes sense. But what about not being used by things in that context?
That becomes really critical there. It calls for what the text terms algorithmic humility.
Algorithmic humility.
Yeah, recognizing that even our smartest AI is still, well, limited compared to the incredible complexity of nature.
So avoiding technological hubris, the idea that tech can fix everything.
Precisely. That dangerous belief that technology is the ultimate solution without unintended consequences. We have to be aware of the limitations.
The text also brings up that story, Butcher Dang carving the ox. How does that fit?
Yes. That story is a beautiful illustration of using resources with precision and restraint.
Moving with the grain, not against it.
Exactly. Understanding the underlying structure of whatever you're working with, be it an ox or the planet's resources, and acting in harmony with that, not just forcing or exploiting.
Okay. And that connects to another idea mentioned, the great use of the useless. That sounds paradoxical.
It does at first, but it points to recognizing value in things that might not seem immediately useful in a narrow economic sense.
Like the forest example.
Right. We might not see its immediate cash value, but its role in regulating the climate.
Yeah.
Immensely valuable long term. It pushes for a broader, more sustainable way of valuing our world.
This provides a really compelling framework. But, how do we actually do this? How do we practice it? Understanding is one thing, but the afterword says it takes effort, right?
Absolutely. It really emphasizes this isn't just intellectual. It needs cultivating skill through persistent effort. How? Gong Fu Chuilian. And a kind of leap in consciousness.
A leap.
Yeah, often starting with a cognitive breakthrough, a deeper grasp that things have this dual nature.
Dual nature, meaning?
They're concrete forms we see, sure, but they're also manifestations of deeper energy flows, information flows. And accepting constant change, the text says, things are born as they die. Who? Zhuangzi.
Yeah.
Helps us become more resilient.
Okay, so it's a fundamental shift in perception. What are the practical steps? The continuous polishing through practice.
It suggests practice on different levels. First, the material level.
Like,
maybe experimenting with more minimalist approaches. Not about deprivation, but about heightening your awareness of your relationship with objects.
really noticing what you have, why you have it.
Yes. And distinguishing genuine needs from just fleeting wants. Understanding how possessions connect to your sort of life energy.
That makes sense. Clearing out physical clutter often clears mental clutter, too. What about the energy level?
On the energy level, things like mindful breathing, practices to cultivate inner stability, dingly.
And that helps how?
That inner stillness makes us less reactive, less prone to those automatic materialistic impulses.
Okay. And lastly, the information level. That seems crucial today.
It really is. With the constant flood of information, we need to consciously build cognitive firewalls.
Meaning filtering things out, being discerning.
Exactly. Actively discerning truth, value, protecting your mental energy from just being consumed by noise and distraction.
That takes deliberate effort.
It does. And the text even speculates, interestingly, about future tech, like brain-computer interfaces.
Helping us quantify how much we're being objectified by stimuli.
Potentially, yeah. Allowing for more conscious adjustment. It's a fascinating thought.
It really is. So if we manage to integrate this wisdom, what are the results? What are the rewards individually and maybe for society?
Individually, the afterword suggests we become more like, say, highly skilled artists, able to interact with the world more freely, with more mastery.
A stronger sense of agency, freedom from those external pressures.
Yes. And on a bigger scale, a civilizational level, it envisions humanity finding its proper place, its ecological niche.
Acting like the planet's conscious organ, promoting harmony, not just endless expansion.
That's the idea, achieving ecological niche self-awareness, a sustainable, harmonious role.
That's a profound vision. Now, the text also tackles some really current dilemmas like technology, AI. How does this ancient wisdom guide us there?
Well, it frames our current moment as critical. We have this incredible technological power, the fire of Prometheus, right?
But also the potential for disaster, the
Right.
sword of Damocles.
Exactly. And advanced AI is presented as a major paradigm shift within that. Zhuangzi's wisdom, it argues, offers the art of survival we need.
An art to maintain balance, freedom, dignity in this intelligent age.
That's the core of it. Both Socratic humility, knowing we don't know everything, and maybe some Faustian courage, daring to explore.
Okay, can you give concrete examples? How would we apply this to, say, getting lost in virtual worlds or the anxiety many feel about AI?
Sure. For virtual worlds, using things means we can explore them. Use them as grounds for experimentation, maybe understanding consciousness better.
But not being used by things.
Means staying grounded in reality, not letting digital identities replace our actual lives. The text even suggests things like digital fasting periods.
Intentionally disconnecting.
Right, to reconnect with the tangible. Now, for AI anxiety, using things means proactively learning about AI, using it as an assistant, a tool.
And not being used?
Means not being paralyzed by fear or blindly worshiping it either. It stresses the need for ethics, for keeping humans in the loop, ensuring we remain the masters of the technology.
Not the other way around. Makes sense. And what about consumerism, that pervasive pressure?
The key there is cultivating object discernment. Shenwu.
Object discernment, judging things more deeply.
Yes. The afterword even has this cool futuristic idea. Imagine a Zhuangzi-inspired object report.
What would that show?
You scan a product, and it tells you not just features, but resource use, environmental impact, even its potential for psychological manipulation.
Wow. That kind of transparency could really empower us to make different choices, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Moving beyond just the surface appeal.
So stepping back for the bigger picture, what's the ultimate takeaway here? What's humanity's role, especially with AI mirroring us more and more?
The afterword leaves us with a really thought-provoking idea. Maybe civilization's ultimate goal isn't finding the answers.
But what then?
Maybe it's about maintaining the curiosity, the ability to keep asking new questions, to keep exploring.
And AI's role in that?
It concludes by suggesting that developing AI, it's like forging a mirror.
A mirror reflecting us.
Reflecting our own minds, our cognitive patterns, values, desires, fears, all laid bare.
So the real challenge, the real lesson,
Is how we engage with that mirror, how we interact with intelligence, human and artificial, maintaining clarity, mastering things without being mastered by them. That, it suggests, is the most important task, the gongke of our time.
Wow. So this ancient wisdom, it's not just history. It feels incredibly practical, a guide for right now.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating presence, awareness, freedom in a world that's constantly pulling at us.
A timeless framework for staying human, really.
Exactly. Maintaining equilibrium in a world that changes so fast.
Well, for you, our listener, we really hope this deep dive gave you a clear handle on this powerful idea, using things yet not being used by them.
Yeah, and maybe some starks for how you might apply it in your own life.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider the things in your own life. Tangible, intangible, all of them.
And reflect on that balance. Your use of them versus their potential to use you. What might shifting that balance even slightly look like?
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We hope it's given you food for thought.
And maybe inspired you to keep exploring how this ancient wisdom can shape your approach to technology and just modern living in general.